Welcome you all to today's webinar. So the webinar is being organized by the Social Nexus Foundation. Just a brief of our organization. The Social Nexus Foundation is a not-profit organization with the motto of Sahai Sam Sukh Dukha. We are working in the field of children and women rights under the broad context of human rights. This includes providing legal and basic education, spreading legal and social awareness, along with providing legal assistance. We want to create a sustainable future for the children and women by equipping them with education, awareness, and legal assistance so that the society can be elevated. Now, about today's event. The today's event, that is our seventh webinar, is on the topic domestic violence and overview, which will help you understand what domestic violence actually is, how to empower yourself against domestic violence, and how to find domestic violence counseling, helplines, and support in India. It's a known fact that women in India have many legal rights that can make a huge difference in their present life and future if they come to actually know what rights they have. So we are pressing onto the facts that everyone, especially women, stand the laws against domestic violence in India so that they can be confident, aware, and fearless. In the very same context, we have today including some award-winning companies as well. She is extremely skilled at advisory and litigation in various fields of law, such as civil, IPC, matrimony, family, succession, etc. Now, ma'am, would you please start with the webinar? Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Raj. Thank you for the introduction. And just somebody in the chat box wrote that this is a term we hear about all the time, right? But I always personally say that it is a term which is widely used but very rarely understood. So first of all, let's think of a picture. Picturize, when I say the term domestic violence, just picturize what comes to your mind, the first instance, the first picture that comes to your mind. It is usually the picture of a wife being beaten physically by her husband. So when we as a society, we think of domestic violence, we think of three things: that the victim can be a wife, the assault can only be a physical assault, and the aggressor or the respondent can only be a husband. But as we all know, law thinks differently. Law gives you a 360-degree protection and gives you rights which even you don't know of, but you should, right? So while the society thinks that the victim can only be a wife, let us see who a victim can. You should be a woman. 2, you should either be living or have in the past lived together in a relationship with the aggressor, not the husband, the aggressor, right? So let's first come to you should be a woman. By a woman, we are not saying a Hindu woman or a Muslim woman or a Christian woman. So first of all, this act is religion neutral. It's applicable to all religions in India. So you can belong to any religion and still be covered by this act. 2, you should be living in a domestic relationship with the respondent in a shared household. That means you need not only be a wife, you can be a mother, a sister, a daughter, a brother, a sister-in-law, a mother-in-law. You can be so many things, and still you can be covered as a victim in this act. Even a brother's wife can be a victim of domestic relationship in the same house, in a shared household, is a victim. And one more thing that I said was who is or has in the past been living together, which means that it doesn't only cover the present relationship, it also goes in the past. Retrospective भी रखता है उसको. इसका क्या मतलब है? जनरली हम देखते हैं कि कभी कभी डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस इतनी ज्यादा बढ़ जाती है कि लेडीज जो होती हैं वो घर छोड़ के चली जाती हैं या उन्हें घर से निकाल दिया जाता है. और इन केसेस में जब ये कोर्ट में आता है तो सबसे पहली बात बोली जाती है कि अब हम लायबल थोड़ी हैं, अब थोड़ी डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस कमिट हो रहा है, शी हैज लेफ्ट द हाउस। तो इसमें क्या होता है, अगर वो उस वक्त टेम्पररी घर से बाहर भी हैं तो भी वो एक विक्टिम की कैटेगरी में आएंगी। एंड थर्ड पॉइंट वाज अग्रेसर। एज आई जस्ट सेड, अग्रेसर सिर्फ हस्बैंड नहीं होता। सो हु ऑल आर अग्रेसर्स? While the victim can be a woman, can only be a woman, aggressor can be any person, whether be a man or be a woman, who is in a relationship with the victim. ये कुछ बेसिक्स हैं जो डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस एक्ट के विक्टिम के हैं। एंड वन वेरी मेजर, और आई शुड से वेरी progressive step that this act took was it included a live-in partner, a female live-in partner within the purview of this act. It means that although there is no marriage or although there is no relationship in the eyes of the society between two live-in partners, but still, if a live-in partner has committed a domestic violence against the other, against the female live-in partner, she can always claim the remedies under this act. When some act actually gave some status to live-in partners. So a victim, whenever you want to ask yourself that whether this woman is a victim or not, you have to only see three things. Is she a woman? If yes, is there a domestic relationship? And is she living in the shared household with the aggressor? If these three are fulfilled, she is a victim. Now, when we've discussed the victim, what is she a victim of? Of domestic violence. So if you ask me, what is domestic violence? The answer can be given in one line. It's very simple. That if there's violence or abuse committed within the sphere of the domestic relationship, it is domestic violence. But for that, we have to understand what exactly is an abuse. So again, when we think of the society, we think of physical abuse. थप्पड़ मारा या नहीं, बॉडी पे स्कार्स है या नहीं, क्या आईज को दिखेगा कि अब्यूज हुआ है या नहीं, क्या वो लड़की आके एक एमएलसी से या आके पुलिस को या अपनी फैमिली को अपने स्कार्स दिखा पाएगी या नहीं. बट लॉ कहता है नहीं, एनी काइंड ऑफ अब्यूज विच अफेक्ट्स द वुमन is considered an abuse. So, law takes abuse in 5 types: physical, sexual, verbal, emotional, and economic. Let's see those one by one. Let's come with the most obvious and the most common: physical abuse. I don't think there's much need to discuss about it because it ranges from a slap to burning. And this abuse, it is a mark on your body. It leaves a scar on your body. And somewhere that is why it leaves a scar on the mind of the society. और होता क्या है कि अगर लड़की जाके बोलती है मुझे मारा, तो सोसाइटी उसकी सुन क्यों लेती है? उसके पास प्रूफ है. That is what is physical abuse, plain and simple. From a slap to burning, all comes under it. Now let's come to something which is important: sexual abuse. What is sexual abuse to begin with? So sexual abuse is an abuse of a sexual nature that humiliates or degrades the woman. Fine. In this also there is confusion. So popular belief is that when you use physical force with a woman, then it is a sexual abuse. But the legal meaning says that even if there is no physical force used, but there is manipulation to make the woman indulge in some in a act of a sexual nature which she is not interested to, by manipulating her or maybe putting her under coercion or maybe putting somebody at risk in which she is interested, even that is abuse of a sexual nature. And This again, when the woman is a wife, then we know even marital rape is no offense in India. We don't have an act against it, right? But somewhere this act gives that wife some remedy, if not of sending the husband to jail, if some remedy. At least it tells the wife that okay, fine, the law acknowledges that something wrong has happened to you. So that is sexual abuse. Then we come to verbal abuse. Again, a very common form of abuse in India. We have so many colloquial terms for the women in our lives, and especially for our daughter-in-law. It ranges from maybe calling her Garibo ki beti for bringing less dowry, or Banj for not giving birth to a child, and in most cases not giving birth to a male child. This requires a special mention. This is the most common form in which women are abused. People have become so, there is so much acceptance of it that sometimes even if you ask the victim, she doesn't even realize that she was abused. She has internalized it and normalized it. The society has normalized it in such a way that verbal abuse को तो हम abuse समझते ही नहीं है. जबकि अगर देखा जाए तो उसका बहुत deep seated impact होता है victim पे. But हम बहुत उसको बिल्कुल नहीं देखते. Then emotional abuse, extremely common, extremely underrated, and this is one of the most common, if not the most common, one of the most common reasons why victims continue in toxic relationships. What is an emotional abuse? Emotional abuse is when you threaten the victim that there will be consequences of if the victim tries to exit the relationship. Now, on whom will be the consequences? On the victim? No. On somebody that the victim is interested in. It may be the victim's family, it may be the victim's parents, and in most cases, it can be the victim's children. But in some cases, it can even be the aggressor. There are times we see when the aggressor will say that I will harm myself if you exit the relationship. Right? Although, people don't accept it, but I think if not more, this is just as damaging as physical abuse. Because what this does is, in the long run, it strips the victim of her self-worth in most cases. धीरे धीरे उसका self-worth, self-confidence खत्म हो जाता है emotional abuse से. Emotional abuse उसको धीरे धीरे खत्म करता है. It's not a one shot. It is a slow transition in diminishing her self-worth. And then we come to economic abuse, the fifth and one of the biggest deterrents because of which the victim doesn't exit the house or the relationship. Economic abuse. Now, what is economic abuse? Economic abuse includes depriving the woman of all economic or financial resources to which the aggrieved person is entitled under law. It may be maybe not giving her stridhan, or depriving her of her own joint property, or her money, or maybe anything which the victim is entitled to receive due to customs or usages or traditions. But this is not the exhaustive. This is only an indicative definition. It's not exhaustive. It can be anything above and beyond this. So, like I said, law gives you a 360-degree protection. You just need to find that kahan abuse hai. Like if I tell you, when clients come to us and they tell us our story, when they're speaking, we find a lot of places where there have been instances of all these abuses, especially the emotional abuse and the verbal abuse. And when we ask, there have been instances when I asked the client, was there an abuse? The first point she gave me was, the answer I received was, nahi ma'am, mara nahi. So somewhere the victim also didn't realize that there was abuse. But when she's telling you what all happened with her, then you'll see that there are so many instances of abuse. But the victim will say, nahi, hamara nahi. There are times when the woman goes to her own family to confide, or her confidants to confide in them. And the first thing, even the women of the house will tell her, उसने तुझे मारा? बोले नहीं, मारा नहीं. फिर क्या कर रही है अलग वो? बोले तो क्या हुआ? कुछ भी तो नहीं हुआ. So there are times you need to understand that these abuses also matter, and they're just as harmful, if not more. Then, now we've understood who is a victim. We've understood what is an abuse. Now, who can be the abuser? Who can be the aggressor? It's a very important point. So like I just said, not only the husband, the definition of abuser is much wider. So abuse, the aggressor or the respondent is defined under Section 2Q of the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act. And the definition says that any adult male, that is a person who is above the age of 18 years and is a male, who is or has been, again, present and past, in a domestic relationship with the victim, can be an aggressor. Now, let's divide it. First of all, when the legislature was enacted, they said that only a person who was above the age of 18 years, who was a male, and who is or has been in a domestic relationship with the victim could be an aggressor. But then as the society evolved, and with society there are evolutions in the interpretations of law also. So this matter came before the Supreme Court, Honorable Supreme Court, in Sandhya Manoj Wankhede versus Manoj Bhimrao Wankhede. And the Supreme Court held that respondent includes female relatives of the husband also. Female relatives. And then again, there was evolution, there were more cases. Then finally in Hiralal Harsora versus Kusum Narottam Das Harsora, the Supreme Court said, and it was a Justice Kurian and Justice Nariman bench, they actually struck down the term adult male from this section because it said that it does not square with Article 14, that is right, equality before law. And as this discriminates between persons similarly situated. Now, what does this mean? Let's understand, is every woman equal in the domestic sphere, in the domestic relationship? Is the situation of a mother-in-law and a daughter-in-law in the matrimonial house the same? Are they at the same position of power, at the same position of authority? No, right? The relationships, the position of authorities are skewed. But the males in the house, in the matrimonial house, and the mother-in-law or the sister-in-law are similarly situated when it comes to treating the daughter-in-law. So somewhere the court said that because these people were similarly situated, so this term, only adult males can be aggressors, this needs to go away. Why did this happen? Let's understand. For example, if only an adult male could be the aggressor, then two things could happen. One was that the females of the house could do all the offenses against the woman, and the males could hide behind the female relatives and say that we did not do anything. And the female relatives, the law did not recognize them as criminals or offenders. So somewhere they could go scot-free. And two, the law said that the males of the house and the females of the house are similarly situated in terms of the power equation. So why should they not be included? Because let's be clear, offenses against women are not only committed by men. They are committed by women as well. So, although a victim under this act can only be a woman, but the aggressor under this act does not need to only be a man. It can be both a man and a woman. But the only thing is that they should be living in a domestic relationship with each other under a shared household. Now I've used this word shared household a lot. So let's understand what is a shared household and where is it defined. So a shared household is defined in Section 2S of the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act. And it says that a household where the aggrieved person lives, again present, or has lived in the past in a domestic relationship with the respondent, it is said to be a shared household. Now, again, this definition also came before the Supreme Court for interpretation. It is bound to, every act will have this interpretation, the Supreme Court interpreting it. So the first time it came before the court was in S.R. Batra versus Taruna Batra. And in this case, the court said that a shared household would only mean a house, A, belonging to or taken on rent by the husband, or B, belonging to the joint family in of which the husband is a member. So somewhere it was only the house which the husband had some interest in. Either he owned it or he had rented it or he had an interest in it. So somewhere what the law did, the interpretation was that only the wife can only have an interest in something that the husband has an interest in this case. But again, in the year 2020, in Satish Chandra Ahuja versus Neha Ahuja, this question again popped up. In this, a daughter-in-law had filed a case against her father-in-law and she wanted residence in that house. So the Supreme Court overruled the S.R. Batra judgment and said that shared household belongs to any relative of the husband with whom the woman has lived in a domestic relationship. So what? Any relative of the husband. Now, does this mean, like, if you see in a marriage, sometimes you'll go to the relative's house, stay there for 2 days, or maybe a week, or maybe a month, as guests. So will the woman, will that be a shared household? No. It means that the house that they were actually staying it as a family, maybe a joint family, or maybe the parents of the boy were staying with them. So that is a shared household. So this way, somewhere, if the boy does not have anything in his name, or all the property belongs to the parents of the family of the boy, so somewhere, that is for the protection of the woman till the proceedings are on. She should not be on the road when she dares to file anything against the family. Now that we've understood that what the domestic relationship is, the first question that arises is, which I've been asked a lot of times, is that, okay, fine, now I know that an offense has been committed against me. Now I know that I'm a victim. Can I file for a divorce on this very ground? Can I leave my husband? Will the court support me? Can this be a ground for divorce? So abuse is always a matrimonial offense. And you can always file a case, petition for divorce on the ground of cruelty. This abuse in itself gives you the right to end your marriage. Because even the court will not want you to continue into a marriage where you are being abused. Now, one more question that I am asked so many times is that can only the victim inform the authorities? Or if, for example, I know that somebody in my family or somebody in my neighborhood is a victim or maybe a victim, can I go to the authorities? I hope I will not be held accountable and people will not, the authorities won't just hold me accountable for filing something against some other person. Okay. So the answer to this is, the law says that any person, he or she may be related to the victim, he or she may not be related to the victim, and who either knows that an offense has been committed or who has an inclination or who has a reason to believe that an offense may be committed can give information to the protection officer of the district. So somewhere, even if the offense has not been committed and you have knowledge or you have reason to believe that this woman is not safe and an offense may be committed, in anticipation also you can go and inform the authorities, the protection officer that has of your district, or maybe the police. You can do that, and you need not worry about the liabilities. There will be neither any civil liability nor any criminal liability. Nobody can tell you anything about it. Now, for example, you filed a case also. You have finally said that, okay, fine, I will not tolerate this anymore. I want a relief. So you file a case in court. What remedies can the court give you? What remedies does this act have for you? So the remedies, the court has a lot of remedies for you. Let's go order wise. Suppose first, and let's understand, if you are a victim of domestic violence, what would be the first thing that you would want? The first thing that you would want is to be protected, right? So the first thing that the court can do is give you a protection order. What does a protection order do? It can instruct the aggressor it can prohibit the aggressor from entering the woman's place of work, or if the woman is a child, then the place of education. It can just say you cannot enter this area, the school, or prohibit them from communicating with the victim, or alienating the assets of the victim, or maybe operating joint lockers. So what the court will do is, it will first of all protect you from any further damage, right? Any further damage, it will protect you. Then प्रोटेक्शन मिल गया आपको, अगली चीज क्या? अब आप उस घर से आप निकलना तो चाह रहे हो रिलेशनशिप से, लेकिन अगर रेजिडेंस नहीं है, अगर घर ही नहीं है, तो रहोगे कहाँ? You cannot be living in the streets or maybe go somewhere else, because most of the women, they don't even have enough resources to rent some other place. So the court can also give you a residence order. So what's a residence order? In the residence order, it can, first of all, even restrain the respondent from entering your place of residence. So what they can do is, shared household को most cases में कभी कभी डिवाइड कर देते हैं कि ये पार्ट विक्टिम का कर दिया और इस पार्ट में रिस्पोंडेंट से उनकी फैमिली नहीं घुसेगी, डिफरेंट कर दिए. Then it can also restrain the respondent from dispossessing or alienating the property. अगर किसी प्रॉपर्टी में विक्टिम का भी कोई इंटरेस्ट है या हस्बैंड की ही प्रॉपर्टी है, तो वो हस्बैंड को मना कर सकती है कि आप इस प्रॉपर्टी को आप बेच नहीं सकते, या इसको अभी विक्टिम का इंटरेस्ट जब तक सिक्योर नहीं होता आप इसको बेच नहीं सकते या एलियनेट नहीं कर सकते या किसी को दे भी नहीं सकते. देन लाइक आई सेड, एंट्री बंद कर देगी बात. देन कभी कभी इन सम इंस्टेंसेस जब कोर्ट को लगता है कि सिर्फ एक शेयर्ड हाउसहोल्ड को दो पार्ट्स में डिवाइड करना अपने आप में इनफ नहीं हो रहता, तो कोर्ट क्या कर सकती है, रिस्पोंडेंट को या अग्रेसर जो हमने कहा, उनको यहां तक इंस्ट्रक्ट कर सकती है कि आप इस प्रॉपर्टी में नहीं रह सकते. So the victim can safely stay in the property, but अग्रेसर को प्रॉपर्टी में रहने का हक नहीं देती कोर्ट उस ड्यूरेशन के लिए जब तक ये ऑर्डर वैलिड है. हस्बैंड को अपना राइट फ्रॉम द प्रॉपर्टी रिनाउंस भी नहीं करने देती, वो इंस्ट्रक्शन भी दे सकती है. देन हस्बैंड को एक और चीज करने को दे सकती है, वो ये कह सकती है कि जितना भी इस लड़की का स्त्री धन है, स्त्री धन इज जैसे लड़की को जो शादी में प्रॉपर्टी मिलती है, चाहे वो वाइफ की साइड से मिले, चाहे हस्बैंड की साइड से मिले, जो हस्बैंड शादी के बाद भी मिले, बीट ज्वेलरी, बीट एनीथिंग दैट इज रिलेटेड टू द वुमन, स्पेशली ज्वेलरी बहुत आती है स्त्री धन में, तो वो सारा वो भी कह सकती है टू गिव इट टू द वाइफ टू सिक्योर हर बेसिकली इन अ रेजिडेंस. देन अब क्या हुआ, आप प्रोटेक्ट हो गए, आपको रहने के लिए घर भी मिल गया, बट इन चीजों से नहीं चलता. सो क्या मिल सकता है, मॉनेटरी रिलीफ ऑर्डर. Now, what is a monetary relief order? So the magistrate may order the respondent to pay a monetary relief to meet the expenses incurred and losses suffered by the woman. एक तो जो खर्चा होता है उसका रहन सहन, उसका खर्चा, और दूसरा लॉसेस सफर्ड. बहुत बार क्या होता है, जब आप एक डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस के शिकार होते हो, आपके एक्सपेंसेस, आपके मेडिकल एक्सपेंसेस आ जाते हैं. अगर आप पहले समझ लो किसी वजह से कमाते थे, अब आप नहीं कमा पा रहे हो, तो आपके वो लॉसेस भी तो हुए, सिर्फ आपके खर्चे तो नहीं है, आप कुछ नेगेटिव में भी गए ना. तो फॉर द लॉसेस सफर्ड ऑल्सो, तो ये अग्रीव्ड पर्सन को मिल सकता है. अब ये दो तरह से मिल सकता है, या तो लमसम वन टाइम, या मंथली इंस्टॉलमेंट्स, हर महीने उसको कुछ खर्चा, गुजारा भत्ता जिसे कहते हैं, वो देते हैं. अब इसमें एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है, when we say monetary relief, somewhere you can also think of section 125 of CRPC, जो सिर्फ वाइफ को, चिल्ड्रन को और पेरेंट्स को मिलता है, where a man is entitled कि वो अपनी वाइफ को प्रोटेक्ट करे या मे बी अपनी डॉटर को प्रोटेक्ट करे. लेकिन अगर डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस एक्ट देखें तो इसमें अगर विक्टिम बहन है तो उसको भी मॉनेटरी रिलीफ मिलेगा, सिस्टर इन लॉ है उसको भी मिलेगा, लिव इन पार्टनर है उसको भी मिलेगा, डॉटर इन लॉ को भी मिल सकता है. सो एवरीबडी, एवरी वुमन हु इज इन अ रिलेशनशिप, उन सबको मिल सकता है. जबकि सेक्शन 125 क्या कर रहा था, वो सिर्फ वाइफ और कुछ हद तक डॉटर को प्रोटेक्ट कर रहा था. वन मोर थिंग, व्हेन आई से डॉटर in this section, I do not only mean the biological daughter or the daughter who's related by blood. I even mean an adopted daughter. I mean a stepdaughter. I mean a foster daughter. Right? I mean all these relatives, all these forms of daughters. ये सब protect हो गई. Now let's come to the monetary relief that we get under the Hindu law. हमें हिंदू लॉ में भी तो सेक्शन 24-25 में मिलता है मेंटेनेंस, राइट? अब उसमें, इसमें और इसमें क्या फर्क है? उसमें और इसमें फर्क यह है कि वो सिर्फ हिंदू वुमन को मिलता है, यहां वुमन का रिलीजन मेंशन नहीं है. तो शी मे बी अ मुस्लिम वुमन, पारसी, क्रिश्चियन, जू, डजंट रियली मैटर. इसमें अगर विक्टिम है और वुमन है तो मिलेगा मेंटेनेंस, मॉनेटरी रिलीफ. नाउ वन मोर थिंग, अब हम ये आ गए कि मेंटेनेंस मिल गया. आप मानो अगर आप एक वुमन ने 125 के अंदर भी मेंटेनेंस क्लेम किया हुआ है, हिंदू मैरिज एक्ट के अंदर भी मेंटेनेंस क्लेम किया हुआ है, तो क्या वो इसके अंदर मेंटेनेंस क्लेम कर सकती है? क्या उसका राइट टू मॉनेटरी रिलीफ इस एक्ट में बिल्कुल खत्म हो जाएगा द मोमेंट आई से कि शी हैज ऑलरेडी गॉट मेंटेनेंस under the other provisions of other laws? So the answer to that is no. Yes, but there is one mandatory thing, and that is you have to inform the court that yes, I have got a maintenance order secured from this court, and this is the amount of maintenance that I'm getting. So somewhere the judge will take an informed decision of thinking that this is what the woman's requirement is and that she has secured this maintenance amount. So there'll be, the judge should make an informed decision and a calculated decision of what the maintenance amount should be, the monetary relief should be. Now, this monetary relief in itself is very relative. एक वुमन जिनके हस्बैंड मे बी 10,000 महीना कमाते हैं और एक जिनके हस्बैंड 10 लाख महीना कमाते हैं, उनके रिक्वायरमेंट्स में फर्क है, उनकी स्टैंडर्ड ऑफ लिविंग में फर्क है, उनके हस्बैंड की पेइंग कैपेसिटी में फर्क है और उनकी स्पेंडिंग हैबिट में फर्क है. तो कोर्ट ये सब भी देखती है मॉनेटरी लीव देने से पहले. तो ये भी रिलेटिव होगा, ऐसा नहीं होगा कि एक स्ट्रेट जैकेट फॉर्मूला बना दिया कि हर वुमन को से 5,000 रुपीज का मॉनेटरी लीव मिलेगा. नो, इट विल डिपेंड ऑन अ लॉट ऑफ फैक्टर्स, both relating to the woman and the husband and the family. So ये सब will be taken into consideration for the monetary relief. Then, now suppose you have children. तो एक बहुत बड़ा डिस्प्यूट जो हमेशा उठता है वो ये उठता है, बच्चों की कस्टडी किसको मिलेगी, और क्या कस्टडी सिर्फ अलग, और क्या इस एक्ट के अंदर कस्टडी मिल सकती है? तो इस एक्ट में अगला जो कोर्ट आपको रिलीफ देती है वो यही देती है, अ कस्टडी ऑर्डर. सो इफ देयर आर चिल्ड्रन ऑफ द विक्टिम and the victim says that I want the custody of the children to myself because maybe my husband is not good influence to them, because and maybe even they are also suffering from the same domestic violence that I am suffering from. So the court may even award you the custody of the children till this proceeding is on. Then generally what happens is visitation rights diye jate hain to both the parties, to the other party. But if the court is of the opinion that the even giving visitation rights will be harmful to the interest of the children, sometimes the children की psychology पे भी असर पड़ता है, so maybe the interest of the children के लिए अच्छा नहीं है कि visitation rights दिए जाएं. So in such case कोर्ट वो भी वो कर सकती है, कैंसिल कर सकती है. Then the last order that can get is compensation order. अभी हमने मॉनिटरी बात जरूर करी है, लेकिन दैट इज कि मेंटेनेंस की तरह मानिए आप उसको. अब आता है कॉम्पेंसेशन. तो अदर रिलीफ के अलावा अगर आपके कोई डैमेजेस हुए हैं, आपको कोई इंजरीज हुई हैं, अब ये इंजरीज अगेन सिर्फ फिजिकल इंजरीज नहीं, आपको मेंटल इंजरीज भी हो सकती है, मेंटल टॉर्चर है, मेंटल इमोशनल डिस्ट्रेस है, इमोशनल टॉर्चर है. जब ये चीजें भी आपको अफेक्ट करती हैं, एंड समवेयर इट्स हाई टाइम द सोसाइटी अंडरस्टैंड्स इट, तो इन केसेस में भी कोर्ट आपको कॉम्पेंसेशन दिलवा सकता है. देन दिस इज कॉल्ड अ कॉम्पेंसेशन ऑर्डर. नाउ आई थिंक we've discussed the basis, we've understood the act. Now let's come to, अगर समझ लो आपको केस फाइल करना तो कौन से कोर्ट की जुरिस्डिक्शन होगी. लाइक मोस्ट ऑफ यू आर लॉ स्टूडेंट्स, तो इसमें एक जुरिस्डिक्शन भी होगी, कौन सा कोर्ट आता है. तो ये आएगा जुडिशियल मजिस्ट्रेट फर्स्ट क्लास, या अगर मेट्रोपॉलिटन सिटी है, जैसे दिल्ली इज अ मेट्रोपॉलिटन सिटी, तो उसमें मेट्रोपॉलिटन मजिस्ट्रेट, इनकी जुरिस्डिक्शन होगी. अब इसमें जगह कौन सी होगी. अब ये हो गया आपका पावर किस कोर्ट की है. अब आ गया टेरिटोरियल जुरिस्डिक्शन किसकी होगी. तो तीन चीजें कंसिडर करेंगे हम. या तो वेयर द पर्सन अग्रीव्ड, यानी कि द विक्टिम रिजाइड्स, वेदर परमानेंटली और टेम्पररीली. ये टेम्पररी वर्ड क्यों डाला है, क्योंकि कभी कभी क्या होता है, आप कभी भी देखो लड़की अपने घर जाके केस फाइल करती है, या पहले सबसे पहला उसका रिएक्शन होता है, कुछ केसेस में छुप के रात को घर से भाग गई बचने के लिए, अपने बच्चों को लिया, प्रोटेक्शन दी अपने बच्चों को, और उनको एक सेफ जगह, एक सेफ हेवन में लेके आप चले गए. अब आप चाहो तो जहां आप परमानेंटली रह रहे थे, यानी कि आपका मैट्रिमोनियल होम, वहां से भी केस डाल सकते हो उस जुरिस्डिक्शन में भी. और चाहो तो आप जहां इस वक्त रह रहे हो, जो आपने अपना प्रोटेक्शन के लिए अलग जगह रह रहे हो, उससे भी आप डाल सकते हो. तो वेदर यू आर परमानेंटली रिजाइडिंग देयर और टेम्पररीली रिजाइडिंग देयर, ये दोनों जगह की जुरिस्डिक्शन है. सेकंड, वेयर द रिस्पोंडेंट रिजाइड्स और कैरीज ऑन बिजनेस. हु इज द रिस्पोंडेंट? द अग्रेसर. वो जहां रह रहे हैं और या जहां बिजनेस है उनका. इसमें टेम्पररी या परमानेंट कोई ऐसा चीज नहीं है, क्योंकि हमें पता है वो अपने घर में रहेंगे, वो क्यों छोड़ के जाएंगे कहीं पे. सो समवेयर एक वहां का जुरिस्डिक्शन भी बन सकता है, आप चाहो वहां पे केस डाल दो. एंड थर्ड, जहां पे कॉज ऑफ एक्शन हैज अरिजन. कॉज ऑफ एक्शन क्या? जहां पे डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस कमिट हुआ है, आप वहां भी डाल सकते हो. ये थर्ड पॉइंट क्यों है? अगर आप मुझसे पूछो कि डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस में वी अंडरस्टूड शेयर्ड हाउस होल्ड, तो क्या जो उस शेयर्ड हाउस होल्ड यानी उस घर की चार दीवारी के अंदर हुआ सिर्फ वो डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस है? नहीं. डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस आपका उस रिलेशनशिप का में जो दो लोग हैं उनके बीच कहीं भी हो सकता है. इन इंडिया, अब्रॉड, in your office, in a movie hall, it can happen anywhere and everywhere. तो वो जहां पे भी कॉज ऑफ एक्शन अराइज हुए हैं वहां पे हो सकता है. समटाइम्स किसी किसी केस में सिर्फ एक कॉज ऑफ एक्शन नहीं होता, मल्टीपल होते हैं. बहुत बार, बहुत जगह, बहुत किस्म के अब्यूजेस कमिट होते हैं. सो वो सारे कॉज ऑफ एक्शन जहां जहां अराइज हुए हैं वहां पे आप कर सकते हो. Now, once suppose the order has been passed by the court. Now, where is it applicable? Is it applicable only in the jurisdiction of that court? No. It's applicable throughout the territory of India. Wherever you are in India, that order is applicable. Now, अब क्या हुआ? Suppose कोर्ट ने ऑर्डर फाइल कर दिया, ऑर्डर पास कर दिया. ये भी तो हो सकता है कि जो अग्रेसर है, जो रिस्पोंडेंट है, वो उस ऑर्डर को माने ही ना, मानने से मना कर दे. या सपोज कोर्ट ने बोला कि डू नॉट एंटर दिस एरिया, दिस पार्ट ऑफ द हाउस, or maybe do not give or pay this monetary relief or this maintenance to the woman, and the husband does not do it. तो क्या है? तो उसका क्या आपके पास रिलीफ है? बिकॉज जब ये एक्ट बना ना, तो ये प्रीडोमिनेंटली एक सिविल एक्ट है. इट गिव्स प्रोटेक्शन टू द वुमेन, बट इट इज प्रीडोमिनेंटली अ सिविल एक्ट. इसमें क्या किया कोर्ट ने? हस्बैंड को जेल भेजने की कोशिश नहीं किया, मेल रिलेटिव को या किसी और फीमेल रिलेटिव को जेल भेजने की कोशिश नहीं की. उन्होंने ये किया कि विमेन को प्रोटेक्ट कर देते हैं, विमेन को सेफगार्ड कर देते हैं हर एंगल से, हर एस्पेक्ट से. बट सिविल लॉ में कभी कभी क्या होता है, डिग्री लेना आसान होता है, उसको एग्जीक्यूट कराना बहुत मुश्किल होता है. इट इज एक्सट्रीमली डिफिकल्ट एंड टाइम कंज्यूमिंग टू एग्जीक्यूट अ सिविल डिग्री. सो लेजिस्लेचर ने क्या किया? They made a predominantly civil law, but they gave it criminal teeth. उनको बाइट करने के लिए क्रिमिनल टीथ दे दिए कि if you do not agree or if you do not follow what we have said and you do not either let the woman be or maybe give her the maintenance or give her the custody, whatever orders we've passed, you do not follow them, then what they can do is, then you can go to jail. Then you can go to jail. So if what happens if आपने orders follow नहीं किए, तो आपको imprisonment up to 1 year और fine up to 20,000 of both ये मिल सकती है. तो क्या किया गया? सिविल लॉ बनाया, उसको क्रिमिनल repercussions दे दिए if not followed. तो ये एक हाइब्रिड लॉ है with criminal ramifications. देन एक पॉइंट हमने जब ये पूरा समझ लिया हमने, तो एक चीज और समझ लेते हैं. एज अ सोसाइटी इट हैज नथिंग एजुकेशनल अबाउट इट, जस्ट माय व्यूज, कि जैसे डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस इतना वाइड स्प्रेड हो रहा है, या कोई भी क्राइम, स्पेशली क्राइम अगेंस्ट विमेन, इतना ज्यादा वाइड स्प्रेड हो रहा है, हाउ कैन वी प्रिवेंट इट? ऑनेस्टली लेजिस्लेचर सिर्फ लॉ बना सकता है, जुडिशली सिर्फ लॉ इंप्लीमेंट कर सकता है, एग्जीक्यूटिव अपना काम कर सकता है, जो भी वो करता है. बट आई पर्सनली बिलीव दैट टिल वी एज अ सोसाइटी डू नॉट इवॉल्व, नथिंग रियली कैन हैपन मच. हम सिर्फ यही डिबेट्स करते रहेंगे, यही समझते रहेंगे और कुछ आगे नहीं बढ़ेगा. सो आई पर्सनली थिंक दैट वी नीड टू सोशली सेंसिटाइज everybody. And by that, the only, I think, reason is that you should know your rights. Knowing your rights is extremely important, because till you don't know your rights, how will you enforce them? But you know what is more important? It is more important to focus on your duties. अगर आपने अपनी ड्यूटीज फॉलो कर ली ना, तो दूसरों के और आपके राइट्स तो अपने आप सिक्योर हो जाएंगे. Even when we hear debates, we always say ये हमारा फंडामेंटल राइट है. हम कभी ये नहीं कहते ये हमारी फंडामेंटल ड्यूटी है टुवर्ड्स अदर सिटीजन्स, टुवर्ड्स अदर रेजिडेंट्स ऑफ फेलोज. हम ये नहीं कहते. सो ड्यूटीज इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. और एक पता है क्या है, अगर हम अपनी जो यंगर जनरेशन है उसको शुरू से ट्रेन करेंगे ना, शुरू से उनको लेट्स ट्रेन देम यंग. अगर हम बचपन से उनको ये सिखा देंगे ना कि तुम में एक सुपरमैन है और सुपर वुमन है जिसे बाकियों को प्रोटेक्ट करना है, तो वो अपने आप तो किसी के राइट्स इन्फ्रिंज करेंगे नहीं और दूसरों को प्रोटेक्ट और करेंगे. हम अगर कुछ गलत होता देखेंगे तो we'll go there and ring the bell and tell the other person that we know, we can see what is happening. And आप इससे बच नहीं सकते. You cannot just get away with it. So I personally think that this is extremely important कि हमारी let's just one remember our duties and two train them young. हर कोई सुपरमैन सुपरवुमन क्यों नहीं हो सकता जो दूसरों को प्रोटेक्ट करे, पर उसके लिए राइट्स पता होने बहुत जरूरी है और ड्यूटीज पता होनी बहुत जरूरी. So thank you everyone. Now all your questions. I'm eager to interact with you all. I saw a lot of questions coming in. I just could not read them because that would have distracted me. All of you write your questions. Absolutely, Sapna. Mindset from the childhood. Absolutely. बचपन से ही सिखाओगे आप. It said that till 5 years आपका वो चेंज हो जाता है. You have to train them young, very young. Somebody just asked, how is sexual abuse different from rape? So, without going into a lot of detail, when we talk rape, हम बहुत हद तक कुछ हद तक पेनिट्रेशन की बातें करते हैं, और it's a very grievous offense. But sexual abuse can be of any type. It can be it can be any way where you're hurting the modesty of the woman, where you're degrading the modesty of the woman. Even touching inappropriately can come under sexual abuse. So sexual abuse में बहुत कुछ cover होता है जो rape में नहीं होता है. Rape में बहुत grave extent है. Sexual abuse can be anything. बहुत छोटी सी चीज जैसे किसी को inappropriately touch करना, वो भी sexual abuse है. बिल्कुल सिखाना चाहिए, बिल्कुल डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस में any somebody just asked me if the boy is a transgender and the boy is sexually abused by a woman, will it be covered under domestic violence? I am so sorry, but you know, the basic ingredient of a victim is that you need to be a woman. Although the aggressor can be a female also. So somewhere when you said that the aggressor was the sister, that can be covered. But this act particularly protects only and only women. So a transgender boy will not be protected. Not Raj, I would like if you could start asking these questions to me, that I cannot read them so fast.
Yes, actually, even I was having some issues with my, I was trying to get it done, but yeah, I think it works now.
Okay.
So the questions are that rape is about, there is one more question, just a second, ma'am. A lot of questions.
From the beginning. Even when I was speaking, there were a lot of questions coming up. So just start from the very beginning.
Yes, ma'am, just a second. Yes, ma'am. So first question is from Mehak Agarwal. She asks, how do we prove sexual abuse and how is it different from rape?
Okay. So I think I just explained, rape is mainly about, you know, rape is one, extremely grave. There is things like penetration involved. It may not only be in the genitalia, but otherwise as well. रेप का डेफिनेशन बहुत ब्रॉड है, एंड स्पेशली अब जो न्यू लॉज आए, न्यू आईपीसी में चेंज आया है, उसके बाद बहुत चेंजेस हैं, बट उसमें एक पेनिट्रेशन नाम की चीज है जो है, आप सेक्शन 376 पढ़ लो, 375, 376 ऑफ आईपीसी, बहुत डिटेल्स है, बट मेजरली अगर आप जानना चाहोगे तो पेनिट्रेशन का एक चीज है ऑफ एन ऑब्जेक्ट और एन ऑर्गन व्हाटएवर. लेकिन सेक्सुअल अब्यूज ना बहुत वाइड है. सेक्सुअल अब्यूज में आप किसी को इवन बोल के भी अनकंफर्टेबल कर सकते हो, आप किसी को इनअप्रोप्रिएटली टच करके भी अनकंफर्टेबल कर सकते हो. किसी भी तरह से जहां एक वुमन की मॉडेस्टी आउटरेज हो रही है, एक वुमन को आप किसी भी तरह से डिग्रेड करने की कोशिश कर रहे हो, वो सब सेक्सुअल अब्यूज में आता है. इफ यू आर अ वुमन एंड you feel uncomfortable about a touch, about somebody's presence, about somebody's behavior, then always trust your instinct and you are being abused. सेक्सुअल अब्यूज बहुत वाइड है, इसका मैं डिफाइन कर ही नहीं सकती, है इतना ज्यादा वाइड है. आपको बस पता चल जाता है that you are being abused.
Ma'am, there is yet another question that marital rape is also called as rape. If so, can it be called as a sexual abuse to wife, which can be covered under this act?
Yes, like I said in the discourse. वैसे तो अगर ये marital rape हमारे पास प्रॉपर लॉ होता, जैसे रेप है, तो उसकी जो पनिशमेंट होती ना वो बहुत ज्यादा होती. So that law is required and I advocate for it like anything. लेकिन till we don't have it, सेक्सुअल अब्यूज के अंदर ऑफ कोर्स, क्योंकि हमने अभी क्या देखा कि क्या विक्टिम वाइफ हो सकती है. यस, वाइफ कैन बी अ विक्टिम. वाइफ इज अ वुमन, वाइफ लिव्स इन अ डोमेस्टिक रिलेशनशिप विद द हस्बैंड एंड हस्बैंड अग्रेसर हो सकता है. तो डेफिनेशन ऑफ विक्टिम तो हमारी कंप्लीट हो गई वाइफ के केस में. नाउ सेकेंडली, क्या रेप जो है वो सेक्सुअल अब्यूज है? बिल्कुल है. तो हमारा क्या हुआ, डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस का डेफिनेशन भी कवर हो गया. फिर हमने देखा अग्रेसर कौन हो सकता है, क्या हस्बैंड अग्रेसर हो सकता है? बिल्कुल हो सकता है. तो समवेयर ये सारे इंग्रेडिएंट्स जब हमने पूरे कर लिए, तो क्या मैरिटल रेप सेक्सुअल ऑफ अब्यूज है अंडर प्रोटेक्शन ऑफ वुमेन फ्रॉम डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस एक्ट? बिल्कुल है. लेकिन डिफरेंस क्या है कि अगर आप एक प्रॉपर रेप टाइप का लॉ होता, अगर ये रेप की डेफिनेशन के अंदर आता, ठीक है, या अगर ये मैरिटल रेप का कोई अलग से लॉ होता, तो आप हस्बैंड को इम्प्रिजनमेंट होती, रिगरस इम्प्रिजनमेंट होती. लेकिन अब क्या मिलेगा, अब आपको सिर्फ ये सिविल रेमेडीज मिलेंगी, जो कि हमने 5 मेंशन करी. आपको रेजिडेंस ऑर्डर मिल सकता है, आपको प्रोटेक्शन मिल सकती है, आपको मॉनिटरी रिलीफ मिल सकता है. अब आपको सिर्फ ये सिविल रेमेडीज मिलेंगी और हस्बैंड जेल जाने का सिर्फ एक चांस होगा, अगर वो कोर्ट के ये ऑर्डर्स फॉलो नहीं करता, तो उसको मैक्सिमम 1 ईयर तक की इम्प्रिजनमेंट मिल सकती है. तो ऑल्दो मैरिटल रेप कम्स अंडर दिस एक्ट, बट रेपरकशंस उतने स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं है जितने अगर एक प्रॉपर रेप लॉ होता तो होते. I hope whoever asked this question, I hope the answer is clear.
Ma'am, we have another question from Meher Hema. She asks, a boy who is a transgender is subjected to violence by her sisters. Does that trans boy, can he file a case against the sisters under the DV Act?
Again, is violence committed? Yes. Is a sister who's a woman can be an aggressor? Yes. But is a boy, can a boy be a victim? No. That is the basic problem. A boy cannot be a victim. A victim under this act can only be a woman.
Ma'am, another question is from Mehak Agarwal. How is sexual abuse under the Domestic Violence Act different from rape?
I think I just explained.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We are going to the next question. Ma'am, how can a woman file a domestic violence complaint at times of COVID?
Okay, so there are a lot of there are a lot of organizations that are helping women do it. And जो नेशनल कमीशन फॉर विमेन है, उन्होंने एक व्हाट्सएप नंबर भी निकाल दिया है. What I'll do is I'll give that number to you in the chat, or else you can just go to the National Commission for Women website and see that WhatsApp number. उन्होंने WhatsApp number निकाल दिया that you just inform them out there, or you can just plainly and simply see who the protection officer in your district is. Google it, you'll get the numbers, or maybe who's the you can call the police. The 100 is always a number for you. Otherwise, there are a lot of helplines, or just call a lawyer if you know somebody. The lawyer will help you out. And सबसे बड़ी बात तो ये है, just go out. अब तो लॉकडाउन भी खुल गया है. First of all, I always recommend, सबसे पहले आप उस घर से निकलो. Make yourself safe, make your children safe, and then do anything else that is possible. Lockdown में there was an issue. अब आप बाहर निकल सकते हो. Just leave. But secondly, what I'll do is, Raj, what I've mailed 2 documents to Tushar जस्ट पुट देम इन द चैट. उसमें सारी हेल्पलाइंस हैं, सारी ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस हैं जो हेल्प करती हैं.
हेलो मैम.
उसमें हेल्पलाइन नंबर्स हैं. एंड एक चीज आप लोग हमेशा याद रखना, हर स्टेट में स्टेट कमीशन फॉर वुमेन होता है. ऑफ कोर्स नेशनल कमीशन फॉर वुमेन है ही. पुलिस स्टेशन होते हैं जो विमेन पुलिस स्टेशन होते हैं. नॉर्मल पुलिस स्टेशन में भी आप जाके कंप्लेन कर सकते हो. और सबसे बड़ी बात यह है, अगर आप नहीं जा सकते तो अपना किसी नेबर को, किसी फैमिली को, किसी को भी बताओ. बाकी आपको ऑर्गेनाइजेशन सारी चैट में डलवा दूंगी मैं इसके बाद, जहां आप सारे हेल्पलाइन जिन पे आप बात कर सकते हो.
Hello ma'am, it would be difficult for us to put in the chat box, so it would be better to present on the screen, ma'am.
That will become a little difficult. What you can do is you can just, whoever has asked this, you can just mail them.
Okay, ma'am. I can do so. Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so Raj, the next question.
Yes, ma'am. Well, the next question is, it has been asked by Mr. Ashish Yadu. He asks, how to frame question concerning women's experience of domestic violence in order to minimize distress?
How to frame questions?
Maybe, ma'am, he's talking about the surveys and all. Like, how can we actually interact with such victims so that they could give us the relevant details without distressing them out?
Okay. So, इस पे अगर आप मुझसे मेरा प्रैक्टिकली पूछो ना, समटाइम्स इवन व्हेन आई हैव अ क्लाइंट जो सामने बैठा होता है, फेस टू फेस वी आर टॉकिंग, एंड उसमें भी जब मैं उनसे पूछती हूँ तो उनको अपनी स्टोरी जरूर पता होती है, लेकिन उन्हीं को उनको ये नहीं पता होता उनके साथ ये सब हुआ है. सो समवेयर फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल एजुकेशन बढ़ाओ. जैसे मैंने आपको आई वुड रेकमेंड, जैसे मैंने आपको एक एक चीज बताई है ना कि ये वर्बल अब्यूज के एग्जाम्पल्स ले लो, उस पे क्वेश्चंस बना दो. क्या आपको डाउरी के लिए हैरेसमेंट कर रहे हैं पूछोगे, नहीं समझ आएगा, बहुतों को नहीं समझ आएगा. लेकिन हाँ, किसी ने किसी को बांझ बोला है, समझ आएगा. किसी ने किसी को गरीबों की बेटी बोला है, समझ आएगा, वो समझ आएगा. तो अपने क्वेश्चंस को उनके लेवल पे, उनके एक्सपीरियंसेस पे, और स्पेशली कोलोकियल टर्म्स के साथ, जो उनकी रीजनल लैंग्वेजेस में जो चीजें बोली जाती हैं या जो रीजनल वर्ड्स यूज करे जाते हैं, हर स्टेट के, हर एरिया के अलग हैं, उन सब के साथ शायद आप क्वेश्चंस बनाओगे सर्वेज में तो बेटर रहेंगे. बट रिटन सर्वेज कितने सक्सेसफुल होंगे, आई एम नॉट वेरी श्योर, क्योंकि जब तक उन्हें पता ही नहीं होगा ये अब्यूज है, तब तक क्या ही वो आपको आंसर देंगे. हाँ, आपके हस्बैंड ने आपको चाटा मारा है, नहीं मारा है, या सेक्सुअली अब्यूज किया है, नहीं किया है, वो कर देंगे. बट उसमें भी, सेक्सुअल अब्यूज में भी, व्हेन इट कम्स टू अ वाइफ, फीमेल्स उस पे हाँ नहीं बोलेंगी, वाइफ उस पे हाँ नहीं बोलेंगी, क्योंकि उन्हें लगता है कि इट इज देयर ड्यूटी एंड इट इज द हस्बैंड्स राइट. और फीमेल रिलेटिव्स, जैसे किसी, इफ somebody's father or somebody's brother or somebody's like some gentleman, somebody asked कि क्या ट्रांसजेंडर बॉय है, उसकी सिस्टर ने किया है, वो उसमें भी मेजॉरिटी नहीं बोलेंगे, फॉर द सिंपल रीजन हमारी सोसाइटी ऐसी है. आप मुझे बताओ, अगर किसी की कोई किसी को बाहर जाके बोलेगा माय फादर अब्यूज्ड मी, और माय ब्रदर सेक्सुअली अब्यूज्ड मी, or my uncle sexually abused me, it takes a lot of courage and we are conditioned in a way कि वो नहीं बोलेंगे. तो somewhere आपको उन questions को ऐसा बनाना पड़ेगा कि उनके रियल लाइफ में उनको सिर्फ हाँ या ना बोलने की वो रहे, बिल्कुल डिस्क्रिशन, बस. उससे ज्यादा मुश्किल है. बट स्टिल अगर आप ये सर्वे कर रहे हो तो प्लीज सर्वे का मुझे जरूर भेजना, द रिजल्ट यू फाइंड. I would love to know the results. Because आज भी हमारे यहाँ रिपोर्टेड केसेस बहुत कम है. ये जितना भी हम स्पाइक सुनते हैं, जो भी हम डिस्कशन कर रहे हैं, ये सब रिपोर्टेड केसेस होते हैं. इतने केसेस रिपोर्ट हुए, इंडिया में 10 ईयर हाई आया, इंडिया में इतने % स्पाइक आया, ये सब सिर्फ रिपोर्ट हुआ है. majority केसेस रिपोर्ट ही नहीं होते फॉर n नंबर ऑफ रीजंस.
Ma'am, the next question is, does the Domestic Violence Act cover the act of committing the violence by a mother-in-law on her daughter-in-law?
Yes, it does. I'll explain why. Like I just said कि जब ये एक्ट बना था तो डेफिनेशन कहती थी कि एनी अडल्ट मेल, है ना, रिस्पोंडेंट की डेफिनेशन क्या कहती थी? एनी अडल्ट मेल। उसके बाद सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा कि नहीं, फीमेल के अगेंस्ट फीमेल भी ऑफेंसेस कमिट करती है और हमें ये पता है। मदर इन लॉ और सिस्टर इन लॉ को डॉटर इन लॉ के अगेंस्ट बहुत ज्यादा ऑफेंसेस कमिट होते हैं। स्पेशली ये जो मैंने आपको वर्बल अब्यूज बोला ना, ये मेजॉरिटी वहां से आता है। तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा कि नहीं, पहले कहा कि नहीं फीमेल रिलेटिव्स इंक्लूड की जाएंगी, और उसके बाद एक फर्दर डिसीजन में कहा कि आप ये अडल्ट मेल का वर्ड ही स्ट्राइक डाउन कर दो सेक्शन में से। तो क्या मदर इन लॉ डोमेस्टिक रिलेशनशिप में रहती है वुमन? हमेशा ना इंग्रेडिएंट्स चेक करो जो मैंने दिए हैं। क्या मदर इन लॉ डोमेस्टिक रिलेशनशिप में रहती है डॉटर इन लॉ के साथ? यस। क्या वो शेयर्ड हाउस होल्ड में रहती हैं? यस। क्या उन्होंने ऑफेंस कमिट किया है? यस। तो क्या वो अग्रेसर हैं? यस। जहां आपका इनमें से एक पे भी नो लग जाए वहां समझ लो कि नहीं आ रही, बट इस केस में ऑल आर यस। तो मदर इन लॉ यस आएगी इस एक्ट के अंदर।
So, ma'am, with this, we move to our final question. The final question is yet again from Ashish Sidhu. He asks as to how the COVID-19 pandemic has led to a change in the domestic violence rate in India.
एग्जैक्ट फिगर्स तो देखो आप बहुत डिफिकल्ट हैं, बिकॉज लाइक आई सेड majority goes unreported, but yes, there were articles, there were surveys जो ये कहते थे India has touched a 10-year high, there has been a huge number of increase in the domestic violence cases, but these are only one reported and two just figures. Now let's see how has it impacted in the real world. First of all, पहले क्या होता था, if two people were living in a shared household, they hardly used to stay together for what, say 8 hours evening. The rest of the day majority of the especially the men of the house were out of the house. In some cases even the females were out of the house. One. Two, what the lockdown did was, अगर कोई, if for example somebody's husband was an alcoholic, तो सबसे पहले तो अल्कोहल चली गई। एक आपको एक बहुत एडिक्शन थी जो अब आपको नहीं मिल रही। टू, जॉब लॉस। आपको सडनली देयर इज नो मनी इन द हाउस, सो देयर इज स्ट्रेस। फाइनेंशियल स्ट्रेस है तो इमोशनल स्ट्रेस होगा। देन यू पीपल आर स्टफ्ड इनसाइड वन हाउस फॉर मंथ्स, तो केबिन फीवर नाम की एक चीज भी होगी। So there were too many external factors that changed. And let's understand, somewhere the equation is skewed. अगर आज भी आपको लाइफ में कितनी भी प्रॉब्लम हो, आपके अपने ऑफिस में कितना भी स्ट्रेस हो, आप कभी अपने बॉस को थप्पड़ नहीं मारोगे, या अपने बॉस पे नहीं चिल्लाओगे, या अपने बॉस पे अपनी भड़ास नहीं निकालोगे। अपने ऑफिस के हो सकता है पियोन पे निकाल दो, हो सकता है अपने ड्राइवर पे निकाल दो, अपने से नीचे पे अपने जूनियर पे जाके चिल्ला दो। बॉस आप पे चिल्लाया, आप अपने जूनियर पे चिल्लाए। तो समवेयर जो ये पूरी डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस का प्रॉब्लम है ना, ये सिर्फ एक, इफ यू आस्क मी, ये सेंसिटाइजेशन इशू है और ये पावर इक्वेशन का स्क्यू होना है। तो हुआ क्या, जब ये सारे एक्सटर्नल फैक्टर्स आए, केबिन फीवर, अल्कोहल नहीं मिली, जॉब्स चली गई, तो घर में पैसों की तंगी हो गई, एक ही घर में आपको बंद करके रख दिया, आप बाहर नहीं जा सकते, आप फ्रेंड्स के साथ नहीं बैठ सकते। तो इन सब में क्या हुआ, भड़ास कहाँ निकालोगे? अपने से एक स्टेप जो आपकी फैमिली इक्वेशन में एक स्टेप नीचे है, उन्हीं पे निकालोगे। सो यस, सो व्हाट दैट लेड टू वाज दैट लेड टू एन इंक्रीज इन द डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस केसेस इन द हाउस इटसेल्फ। और दूसरा क्या हुआ, लाइक there was a help in my house, there was a house help I had once. She had told me that जब मेरा हस्बैंड मुझ पी के आता है और मुझ पे चिल्लाता है या मुझे मारने की कोशिश करता है, तो मैं भाग के जाती हूँ घर से बाहर और बाहर से कुंडी बंद कर देती हूँ। अब क्या हुआ, लॉकडाउन में वो बाहर से कुंडी बंद नहीं कर सकती, वो भी उस घर के अंदर ही बंद है। the option she had of that escape when the husband was drunk, वो option भी खत्म हो गया. So even that became a huge problem in the lockdown. If you ask me, the pandemic was not much of a problem. The lockdown was. So that was more of a problem. Then what happens is when the woman faces something, the first person she can go to is the neighbor. In the lockdown, the neighbor also was no more an option. All these factors led to an increase in the domestic violence cases. But what we saw or what we know of or what the reported cases are nowhere close to reality. The reality is way huge. And the reality ranges from somebody from the lower strata to somebody from the topmost financial strata. It is widespread. It is not even limited to stratas. It is not limited to the country we live in. It is a worldwide phenomenon. And most of it is unreported.
Okay, thank you, ma'am, for answering the questions. With this, we come towards the end of our webinar. Thank you, ma'am, for taking out your precious time in attending the session and clarifying our issues. Thanks a lot, ma'am.
Anybody, Raj, can I talk to them for 2 minutes?
Sure, ma'am. Sure, ma'am.
Yeah. Anybody, if you have any more questions, because last time I remember I was delivering a webinar and at the end somebody told me, man, you didn't take my question. So if you have any more questions, you can ask me right now. I'll be happy to help. Okay, so Ashish Yadu asks domestic violence, intimate partner violence, and spousal violence. So the answer is very simple. Spousal violence means violence against abuse against your spouse, that is your wife. Intimate partner violence can be your wife or your live-in partner or anybody you can be an intimate partner with. But domestic violence can be against any woman who lives in a domestic household with you. That means your mother, your sister, your daughter-in-law, your brother's wife, anybody you live in a domestic relationship with. So that is the difference. Domestic violence, maybe you can say it's a wide umbrella. And these are only related to the spouse or the intimate partner, the violence against the spouse or the intimate partner. Just that difference. So these two, intimate partner violence, spousal violence, this is a part of the domestic violence umbrella. I hope, Ashish Yadu, your answer, I've given your answer.
Hello, ma'am. Even I have a question, ma'am.
Okay.
And my straightforward question on protection order given by the competent court, ma'am. What are the essential ground needed for the same and what are the consequences would happen?
Could you just elaborate your question? I couldn't understand it.
Ma'am, my question, protection order given by the competent court in order to protect the aggrieved party.
So you want to ask what all can be covered?
What are the different grounds for the same, ma'am? For the protection order?
There is only one ground. And the ground is that the woman is not safe in the shared household. Ground सिर्फ एक है कि woman safe नहीं है. तभी ये word आया protection. तो कोर्ट ने क्या किया? प्रोटेक्ट करने के लिए ऑर्डर दे दिया. ग्राउंड सिर्फ एक है, रिलीफ्स बहुत सारे हैं. तो प्रोटेक्शन ऑर्डर क्या क्या कर सकता है? आप उस वुमन को उसी घर में प्रोटेक्ट कर सकता है. समझ लो उसी घर का एक अलग हिस्सा दे दिया कि आप यहाँ रह लो, यहाँ आप सेफली रह लो. या कुछ मौके तो ऐसे होते हैं जहां हस्बैंड को या उस मेल पार्टनर को या मेल रिलेटिव को बोल दिया जाता है कि आप, क्योंकि हम इस घर को दो हिस्सों में प्रोटेक्ट नहीं कर पा रहे, तो आप यहाँ आ ही नहीं सकते. उसकी ही एंट्री बंद कर दी जाती है इन सम एक्सेप्शनल केसेस. या अगर वुमन ऑफिस जाती है तो ये कर जा सकता है कि आप इसके ऑफिस जाके, कभी कभी क्या होता है जब आप एक ऐसा इशू आता है तो ऑफिस में जाके थोड़ा सा मिसबिहेव किया जाता है, तो प्लेस ऑफ वर्क में जाने से मना कर सकती है कोर्ट, प्लेस ऑफ एजुकेशन में जाने से मना कर सकती है कोर्ट. ये सारी चीजें प्रोटेक्शन ऑर्डर में आ सकती है. बट ग्राउंड एक ही है कि वुमन को उस वक्त प्रोटेक्ट करना है.
Ma'am, Mr. Cherian actually had a question. Sir, if you would like to, please kindly switch on your mic and ask the question.
Yeah. In the case of a What's called the relation, living in relation. What is applicable to this act?
Sorry, sir?
In the case of living in relation for a female, what is the protection given under this act?
Sir, this act totally applies. All the orders I just told you, all the reliefs that I just explained, they all can be availed by a live-in partner as well.
Okay.
This act, sir, this act came in the year 2005. So somewhere it's a relatively new act. Until that time, the society had evolved, the society had progressed towards this live-in relationship thing. So a live-in partner, except for being covered under this act, she is also entitled to claim maintenance, other provisions also under the section 125 also. So these days, live-in partners are generally taken not, if you say not equivalent to, but not very less also from a married woman. Even the children from a live-in relationship are given acknowledgement. So live-in partner is covered under this act.
Clear. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Anyone else?
Ma'am, we have another question from Mr. Ashish. He asks, what is the difference between domestic violence, a spousal violence, and an intimate partner violence?
Raj, I think I just gave the answer that domestic violence is the wider umbrella which covers every woman who lives in a domestic relationship with the aggressor. Can be a mother, can be daughter, can be sister, brother-in-law's wife, brother's wife, son's wife. It can be anything. But what a spousal violence can be, maybe some violence that is committed against a wife, against your spouse. And intimate partner violence can include both wife and maybe a live-in partner. So the domestic violence is the broader umbrella, and these are parts of it.
Ma'am, apart from that, I don't think we have another question which is not repetitive in nature. So I think that would be it from the question and answer session. Thank you, ma'am, yet again for taking out your time. And it was really a pleasure having you on board, ma'am. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Have a very good evening then. Bye-bye.
Thank you
Have
so
a
much.
nice day.
And Prerna, yes, you can apply for an internship. You may. Thank you, Gunjana. Thank you, Gunjana Mudgal. Thank you so much. How did you all like the session?
Very interactive.
Thank you. Thank you, Agnivesh. Thank you, Varsha. Thank you, Sakib Kumar, Pragati Mudgal. Where to interact with you in future? You can email me at astha.chadha105@gmail.com. Raj, please could you add that in the chat box, the email ID? Thank you, Muskan.
Yeah, ma'am, I'm adding.
Thank you. Thank you, Satyam. Thank you. Thank you, Jitu, Jose. Thank you, Ashish. Harsh Rastogi, thank you, Harsh. Thank you. You want to interact in future, so suggest a topic. What would you like to learn about? What should be the webinar? What should the webinar be about? Om Prakash Jaiswal. Om Prakash, you can just apply. You can send in your CV on my email ID, astha.chadha105@gmail.com. Death sentence to the juvenile. Okay, Harsh, I'll take that into consideration. Thank you, Advocate Ashok Vardhan. Thank you. Active subject, can you put more? Artificial intelligence on our legal system, Kriti Kumar. All right, okay. Any other suggestions? Topic suggestions? Type my email ID. Okay. Ashish, do you want to? You're an advocate. Ashish, you can also contact me on the email ID. Yes, astha.chadha. Perfect. Saurabh Bhardwaj has just typed my email ID in the chat box, so you can just take that. Making sections of IPC related to women such as rape, etc., gender neutral. Honestly, I don't think that will be a good idea. That will not be a very good idea. Yes, ma'am. Okay, I just missed the message. Anyone else wants to say something? You people, talking to you people fuels my energy. You people are the source of my energy. So I would love to know what you people felt, what you people want to know more. Any suggestions? Thank you, Ritu. Thank you, Ritu. Thank you so much. Anything that you want me to add? Anything that you want me to? Kriti, offline internship. At the moment, not possible. But still, apply. Tejeshwar Pandey, all of you who are asking for an internship, just apply on the email ID that is given in the chat box. Anything else about a topic for the webinar? Anything else? Anything that you want me to talk to you about next? Thank you so much, Prerna. Thank you. And she's written, keep loving. That means thank you. Any best book for IB? I think best book. I do not recommend books in general. I just first say, if you've read the Bear Act in its entirety, till you read the Bear Act in its entirety, understood it, interpreted it, don't go in for books. The biggest mistake, according to me, that we as advocates make is we read books, we read articles, we read opinions of other people. What we don't do is we don't read the bare legislation. So till you are thorough with every provision that the Act has, don't go in for books. First read the Bear Act, understand the Bear Act, so that, you know, these small little things, like I just said, what are the ingredients? If these ingredients are satisfied, the offense is made. So where did I get it from? I did not read any book for it. You have to understand the Bear Act. Thank you. Any suggestions, anyone? Topic suggestions, topic recommendations, anything that you want to say to me? No? On civil case topics. Okay, we'll do that. AI is repeatedly aa raha hai. Okay, all right. Anything else? Career counseling on family law. Started studying this subject and I feel like person. Yes, fine. Either you, if you want, you can just mail it to me. We can talk on call or maybe on email, or I can have a complete webinar on it if you want. It can be either way. Otherwise, I'm also coming up with some course, nothing. Right to marriage to homosexuals. Kriti, unfortunately, we don't have that right yet. But I have fingers crossed that we get it real soon. Till then, live-in relationship is possible. Okay, I think you're all done. It was where marital rapes. You want that as a topic, Lavanya? Lavanya, do you want that as a topic? As a discussion. Okay, Lavanya, done. I'll do that. Marital rape needs to be discussed more often, needs to be understood. Done, Kriti, done. I will do that for sure. Any need for strict laws for juveniles? Harsh, I think honestly, I do not believe in stricter laws. because I somewhere feel the stricter the laws are, the more time the implementation takes. But yes, I really think that, like I said, sensitization, catch the juveniles young and training them from the very beginning. Their first 5 years, first 10 years are the building blocks. So I think sensitization goes a long way. And I honestly think that, the moment you start educating children about their rights and training them about their duties and giving more emphasis on the duties, I think we'll have the next generation to be better juveniles. But for that, we have to be better adults. Thank you, Kriti. Thank you so much. Thank you, Harsh. Questioning victims where police is keeping away from reporting. How to handle this? I think the only way to handle this is again, know your rights. If you know that the police cannot harass you, if you know that the police is the evidence the police takes from you by torturing you or in the police station by hurting you or threatening you, it does not count in court or maybe any other right, then I think this can be tackled. Like many people don't know that police cannot arrest women post sunset. Many people don't know that without a woman police officer, the police cannot arrest you. In such cases, if you know these small little rights of yours, then I think the police will not be in that great a position to harass you. So knowing your rights is very important. Knowing the law is very important. Exactly. Vigilance is important. Exactly, Lavanya. Vigilance is important. Questioning more important, most embarrassing, sir? Exactly. It is most embarrassing. It is most embarrassing. But they are on an ego trip of their own, sir. And I think only an aware citizen can counter that. I think everybody's done. We exit.
I think so, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Yes, for this most incidents are not reported. And sir, most incidents are not only reported because of the police questioning. A very important factor is the society and the societal pressure also. That is also very, very extremely important a factor, because I've seen many people who come to me and they are less scared about the police and they are more scared about their own family. Stigma, of course, sir. Stigma, of course. Absolutely. I think that's the major issue. Major issue.
Yeah.
I think everybody's questions are over. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being such a good audience, such an interactive audience. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.